facts.
Sure.
The name calling.
Right.
Not the logical part. I see a lot of the more illogical, circular thinking on one side and the other. I'll let you guys decide which side that is.
Mhm.
But the whole name calling thing and the whole becoming a personal attack on something, that is something that I see on all sides, that if you want to be seen as the rational side, that has to go.
Yeah.
You know? That has to, like, completely, you got to practice what you preach. You know what I mean? So, but it's hard, and I know you get heated and you get, angry about it. I just said that myself in the beginning,
Yeah.
It's hard not to go there. But I think it's important because then you will be seen as the facts and the side of reason. You know what I mean?
All right, I got two more.
Go for it.
Okay, so this is from Swan 007, and he has, illegals have zero respect for our law. They've already violated it by coming here. If someone breaks into your house, you have two choices. One, shoot the bastard, or two, allow him to rob, rape, and murder you and your family. Why is the government allowing them to rob, rape, and murder us? Shoot the bastards, MAGA, build the wall, and deport all illegals. Then shoot any who come in illegally.
I've heard this house analogy so many times.
Yeah.
I think it's what's been in this echo chamber going on to, like, justify a lot of these things. And I think in a lot of situations, you wouldn't just shoot someone that walks into your house, right? Like, if someone just walks into your house, you might be prepared with a gun or everything like that. But what if it's your neighbor that, drunkenly came in?
Good actor, Robert Downey Jr.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if anyone remembers, but he used to be a bit into the drugs and the drinking.
Right.
And one night wandered into his neighbor's house.
Right. Or a mentally handicapped person, someone that has, it could be anything. Like, I don't think your first reaction to anything should be
Shoot on sight.
It's like, what kind of life do you live in? I remember when we saw Jim Jeffries, he's like, most people that come into your house, they're probably trying to take your TV,
Yeah.
And which doesn't make it justifiable or anything like that. I'm just saying there's more nuance to every situation than just shoot, right?
But this is, I see a lot of this fear of rob, rape, and murder, right?
Yeah, that's the automatic. That's why people are coming here to rape, which if you see the evidence that they present, it's anecdotal, right? Like, these things are not what most immigrants do, and they know that. And I always say that for me, it always boils down to racial situations, because they don't talk. How well they talk about people from Europe or from the the wider countries coming in, and nobody's thinking that they're coming here to rape and kill and murder anybody. But for some reason, the brown people do. Like, that's at the end of it, I always boil down. What is your real feeling here? You know, there's a feeling in there, and you're trying to justify that feeling again through these things, and for most of the part, when you break it down, and you remember on your Facebook articles, I would break it down with some of these people, and at the end of the day, what did usually come out? Some kind of racial bias, right? And they swear it wasn't, but when you break down every other argument that they have, at the end of the day, it's like, brown people kill more people. It's there, and you try to be as diplomatic with this and that, but at the end of the day, that's your fear. That's your way of thinking, and you can sit here and yell at me, I'm not racist, but if that's your fear, guess what your thoughts are?
I would love you to follow that up with one of my favorite quotes from you about racism. You say, because I'm going to ruin it.
Okay, so it comes down to, again, labeling people, right? And when you label someone a racist, of course they're going to fight that, because I don't believe anybody who's born and this is a racist baby, you know? And I'm not talking about the whole, this is learned and this and that. What I'm talking about is it's not a condition. It's a way of thinking, right? And anybody can have racist thoughts, right?
Yeah.
By having racist thoughts, are you a racist? then I think most people on this planet would be considered racist because by the way we're raised, sometimes we have some racial bias. Sometimes they're like, we think they're good and they're still racial thoughts, right? Based on race. And you might even have a plethora of evidence that backs up your racist thought, right?
Right.
So it's still, you're not, if you call someone a racist, they're going to fight you on it because their thought is, I'm right about this, so it doesn't make me racist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you say to them, I believe that your thought has racist connotations or it has racial...
Negative racist ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Thoughts, racist thought. And that's, you're separating person from thought.
Yeah.
And then you can actually have a discussion about it. But if you come at them with you're racist, them as a whole... you're calling a racist.
Then they just put up a wall.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So why not? Because I can tell you at one point or another, you probably had some racist thought, right?
Yeah.
And even if it was a positive trait, like it was you can change that if you separate person from thought. But you can't if you attack the person or tell them they're racist. That's just not gonna... what racist is to all of us is a negative thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a negative word to call someone. It's calling them something horrible. They're going to associate it with the most horrible thing they can think of, right?
And they're probably thinking, I'm not racist.
Right, because it's like calling them a Nazi, right?
Yeah.
So if you called someone a Nazi, how do you think they're going to react, right? So if you separate person from thought, you have a much more open communication about what that means to you and what it could mean to them, right?
Yeah.
So
I like it. It's not necessarily that a person is racist. Their thoughts are racist.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's kind of how I'm beginning to open up conversation.
When you told me that, it was as if a light bulb went on in my head, where I was thinking that person is a racist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that person is so much of a racist, but the way they think about something is a negative racist way to think about it.
Right.
To me.
And you see like a lot of people who have been Nazis they've been neo-Nazis and then throughout experience and positive experiences, they've been able to change the way they think about the situation, right? Yeah. So there's no such thing as a racist, right? If you can change something like that, then it's not some innate feeling within you or you're born that way. You just, there's something within you that makes you that way. It's just the way you're thinking about something.
Yeah. Both my dad and my grandfather told stories about when they were young and they were in neighborhoods, and my family is Jewish, and they would come across people that had never met Jewish people.
Right.
And my grandfather was in the war, and a guy comes up to him and says, you're the nicest Jew I've ever met. And my grandpa goes, well, how many Jews have you met? He goes, well, you're the first.
Exactly.
And the guy, he's giving a compliment. He's saying you're nice.
Yeah.
But he said it's like one of those backhand compliments that my grandfather's like, it's not a compliment.
Right.
And then something similar with my dad. A girl was talking to him, and you're the nicest Jew I've ever met.
Right.
It's like, how many Jews have you met? You're the first.
Right. And it those microaggressions, they call them, like where you say something that you're thinking it's a compliment or something that you don't consider it a racist thing to say, but it really is a backhand, like you said, backhanded way of saying it. On our end as a minority or as, some other religion, it's that part of understanding that this is the experience that has to happen, for it to change.
Yeah.
So if that made you attack that person, like, hey, you're a racist, blah, blah, blah. What did you just do, right? Like, you shut down kind of, which is a lot to ask. I always say it's a lot to ask from the minority or from the other religion that's getting that backhanded comment.
Yeah.
But to think, if you just label that person a racist, that person is going to retract, go into their shell, and say, well, there you go. Look how these people are. I try to give them a compliment, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes this negative experience for everybody around. So I think that educating them, like, and being in that sense, this shows you that maybe you need more experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dealing with this population. And for me growing up, it was all the time, oh, well, you're not like the other Spanish people, right? And it's like, wow, thanks, great. And And there's a theory of integration
Uh-huh.
when you first come into a different culture.
Mhm.
You're part of a minority within a larger culture that has the majority, right?
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you reject your own culture to try to fit in, right?
Mhm.
So I remember when I was growing up, and like there was Spanish jokes about Hispanics and everything, and I would like laugh and yeah, we're like that, because you're trying to fit in with everybody around you, and you almost like, yeah, Spanish people this, blah 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 blah. But then you realize that they're not laughing with you.
Yeah.
They're laughing at you, and there's that's part of who you are, and then there's becomes a big rejection to the majority, and you become super your culture. I remember me listening to all kind of Spanish music, wearing kind of Spanish clothes, like it's what would be considered Latin clothes and stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you indulge yourself in all your, in your culture to become super like the symbol for that culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But after that step, you realize, okay, I can take who I want to be, and I don't have to be this stereotype or whatever that I have to represent myself as, so other people will see me as that culture.
Mhm.
And then comes a more mature part of yourself where it's like, I love this part of my culture. I can represent the parts I like, and not everything I don't have to represent myself as this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really cool because you see it. That's the maturity of you owning up to your culture, assimilating with other, and understanding other cultures as well.
There's something awesome about experiencing other cultures, whether it's the music, the food. There's so much to other people.
Right.
The stories that they tell. I'm very fortunate to live in a place where I get to meet so many different people, and it's not just the same thing every day.
Right.
I get to try your spices and your breads. I get to listen to music that I would have come across otherwise.
Right.
And this is something that it's unfortunate people would move to these other places in the States,
right,
in the United States, if they felt they would be comfortable. I know Aziz Ansari talks about something in one of his comedy bits.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's from like North Carolina,
yeah,
Alabama, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And his family immigrated to there, and it's like, I don't want. That's not where I want to go, but that's where we could go, and therefore he had to deal with being in that place.
Right.
And there's no one else around him like that. And then there's another one by David Cross,
mm-hmm.
and he's from Atlanta. And in that area, they don't know about Jewish people. And he talks about being young, and he's staying at some friend's house. And the mom comes in and is like, "Hey, David, I'm going to be fixing some breakfast. I just got a question. Do you all people eat oatmeal?" He's like, "Yeah, why wouldn't we eat oatmeal?" And I don't want to offend you. I mean, it's good that she's getting to meet somebody who's Jewish and she's learning about it.
Yeah.
But it's like these assumptions.
Yeah. It's how you take them. It's like, do you guys, like, I remember growing up, do you guys have cars? Do you guys have
electricity?
It's like those really annoyed me when I was growing up, and but you get it too, lack of understanding, lack of, and we're getting better at it. I think as we have the internet, people don't have to experience things anymore. They can see it and understand it through, like I always talk about, like my sister had much more exposure to other cultures and things that even it is because through the internet she talks to people through the games in Japan, and you know what I mean, like she has a lot more, because that's all it is. That's all. If you boil down to it,
mm-hmm.
It's your all your fears, all your like stereotypes, and only thing is your lack of experience with other people. Because at the end of the day, you realize that they maybe eat something different or do things in a different way, but at the end of the day, they're just people. They're just like people like you, and you have a lot more in common.
Yeah.
About who you care for, family, laughing, doing things together. All your values are shared throughout wherever you go. We're obviously talking about the essence of everybody.
Right. We all want to enjoy ourselves in this life with our
Right.
friends, our family, and
Yeah, it's experience, no matter what. Like if you talk to soldiers who will go over to Afghanistan and all these other, the people that obviously have horrible experience, they're gonna maintain their, their bias